Hello, creative humans! This week you're going to create your post-portrait unit summative drawing. So last week, or last time we met, you created a pre-portrait drawing. And so what you did is you chose an image and I told you to draw for an hour. So now that you've practiced and hopefully you've used the demonstrations to better create some realistic facial features, we practiced creating an eye, a nose, a mouth, an ear, as well as some hair. Now you're going to take all of the things we've learned and practiced and you're going to create a realistic portrait. This portrait is going to take you longer than an hour. I have the grading criteria in the attached assignment. You're being graded on proportions. You're being graded on your contour line. So by proportions, are the facial features in the correct spot? Is the face shape in the correct spot? You're going to be graded on the values. Do the color tones match? Do the values of the eyes match? Textures. Is her face smooth? Do you have the texture of eyebrows and the hair? If your drawing has clothing, is that realistic? Have you emulated those textures? And then you're also going to be graded on your blending technique and your craftsmanship. Craftsmanship is really the effort you've put in. Have you taken your time? Are you including the details, or are you rushing your work? So all of these things are what I'm looking at when I grade this week for this project. Do not rush this piece. Don't try to get it in at the last minute. It is very obvious if you take your time on a portrait and give your best effort. Even if your proportions are off, you can still work to create some realistic portraits. Do not trace. I'm going to show you today in a very short video on how to get started with your portrait. If you don't have a printer at home, just do this to the best of your abilities, but I will say it's extremely beneficial if you have a reference image as well as a sheet of paper the same exact size. I'm using nice drawing paper today. It is 8.5 by 11. This image is 8.5 by 11. You really want that 1-to-1 ratio. Your finished image should be 8 by 10 to 9 by 12. This is 8.5 by 11, which is a standard size of Xerox paper. So the way I get started is really quite simple. This is going to be 1-to-1 scale. Because I'm right-handed, I want my image on the left side. That way, as I'm drawing, I can just look over it without smearing. If you are left-handed, you want to do the opposite. You want to be able to draw and glance over at your reference image. I'm right-handed though, so I'm going to have this on the left side. Also, I know my camera is a little off, I want to have these papers parallel to the table. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at these straight on. If I'm off to the side, her face is going to look kind of funny and leaning. We don't want it to lean. We want it to be nice, straight on. The reference images I've attached are all front facial views of portraits. They aren't tilting their head down. It's just straight on. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use a ruler. I am just going to start plotting in points. So I'm just using my fingers as a guide to plot in where her face is going to fit on both sides. That way, when I start plotting things in, I know that her face fits. Okay? So if I start with her face, let's see. So her face is going to be here, there. Her hairline goes up to here. Then you can start kind of connecting those dots. So that's where her ear's going to go. Her chin's going to go down here. So you can see on my finished contour line drawing that I've already done the bulk of the locations. So I've just gone through. You want to start with the face shape, so I'm just matching things up. Yep, her face fits in perfectly. You're just going to use that to guide you. Is this time consuming? Yes, but in the end, I'm going to save a lot of time because I know that her face is the same size it's supposed to be. So I get the face in first, the neck, the hairline, and then I start plotting in her facial features. You want to plot in the eyes first. Generally speaking, your eyes are halfway down your face. So I also drew a center line there. You can just barely see where I plotted that in. So you can always drag your image over to help you plot in those facial features. From the eyes, then I work down to the nose and then the mouth. If you start with the mouth or the nose, a lot of students have their eyes kind of in the forehead area. It might look like the eyes are supposed to be further up if you're working with a blank face, but your eyes, like I said, are halfway down your face. So before you move on to adding any value, you want to make sure your portrait has an accurate contour line drawing. Remember, you're being graded on that accuracy. You want every facial feature to fit in its place before you add value. You want to do this with nice light values so that if you make a mistake, which we're human, we make mistakes, that way you can erase them. So I've placed in all of my facial features, measured things. I can clean up my lines. Mechanical pencil is perfect for this because it's nice and sharp. And then you can go about adding value. A lot of students struggle with where to start when adding value. Me personally, I like to start with the eyes and work my way out. Some people who are still working to build confidence, they start with the clothing or the neck or the hair. But I like to start with the eyes. One other thing, I know our demos included some skin. It's important whenever you are adding value to a face that you don't just scribble the values in. You want to follow the lines and curves of the face. Remember that the nose is going to have kind of like a little sphere at the top. So you can see I have a little circle there. Underneath the chin, or underneath the lips, I have a shadow. So I'm going to use this image as I work to make sure I'm following the curves of the face. I know my videos have been brief. There are tons of helpful YouTube videos as well if you get to struggling. I believe in you. I look forward to seeing what you create. Just remember, when you're plotting in features, start with measurements of the facial features, the face, then work your way in. I look forward to seeing what you create.